Good morning, everybody. Good morning, subscribers. My name is Michael. I'm a mechanic. You can locate me in Nigeria. First of all, this is Land Rover Discovery LR3, and this car is very reliable. This does not have all these BM garbages engine. These are Jaguar drive motors. And first of all, we're going to jump into the things you have to know about this car that screws mechanic up. First of all, there's what you call limp home mode. Now, limp home mode in this car is when when the second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth and sixth gear knockout. When these gears are not selecting, it is called limp home mode. The ECU knocks out second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, and sixth gear. In some vehicles, it knocks out first gear and you can only drive with second gear. Now, what are the causes of limp home mode in this car? Now, limp home mode is caused by now in this car there's what you call oil temperature sensor and the water temperature sensor. Then the ECU uses the oil temperature sensor. The ECU uses the oil temperature sensor for the limp home mode of this car. When the ECU detects a fault, when the ECU detects fault in the oil temperature sensor, for example, invalid reading, voltage high, input signal high, when the ECU detects a fault in the oil temperature sensor of this car, it triggers the limp home mode and you only drive with first gear. And then when you only drive with first gear, it can destroy your transmission. Then another thing with this vehicle is there's something about this vehicle that the crankshaft position sensor is very sensitive. There is a way this car is being wired that if the wire of the crankshaft sensor is touching on the exhaust, that exhaust, and there is a little is touching on the exhaust, now it will signal an invalid reading in the ECU. And guess what will happen? First of all, it is going to trigger limp home mode. The car will actually start, but when it starts, it can jerk. It jerks. And then number two is that the suspension will go to access height only or normal height, and you cannot access the suspension of this car. These are the some faults with this car. Then another thing about this car is, now I want people and mechanics and technicians to know there is difference between transfer case module and transmission control module. Now the transfer case module in this car is located at the battery compartment in the front, at the engine compartment. If you remove the battery, that is where the transfer case module is located. The transfer case module is in charge of the 4x4. It's in charge of putting this car into high range and low range. You can use low range to tow a car. If you want to tow another car, it gives torque to the engine and you are not stressing the engine. Look at what I mean here. This thing now, you can shift it into high range and low range. Look at high range, look at low range. Now the transmission control module in this car, because this car is a ZF 6-speed automatic transmission. ZF, I love the way that they make their guy. Is very gearbox is very reliable. Their transmission is very reliable. Then this ZF transmission, the ECU, the transmission control module, is located inside. When you pull out the oil, the transmission filter, transmission filter, you will see the ECU located above the valve block. When you pull out the valve block, you will see the ECU on the top. So the ECU of this car, that is what we call transmission control module. The one located at the battery when you remove the battery is called, you look inside, you will see it is called transfer case module. These are the different things. Then finally, there's something about this car, Land Rover LR3 Discovery LR3 2006 model, 24, 25, 26, 27. There's what we call radio noise filter in this car, and the radio noise filter in this car is in charge of it is what powers the transmission, the 6-speed automatic transmission of this car. And by the way, ZF has an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is very amazing, very complicated. As in, the guys that develop these transmissions are amazing. It's unbelievable. So back to what we are saying. Once these radio noise, these are capacitors. Now, there are two radio noise filters in this car, one located at the ignition coil. After the ignition coil at the top, you will see it is rectangular in shape, small in is not all that small in size, rectangular in shape. Then that the one located at the down at the refill plug, you will see it is just a small square in shape. Actually, it's called radio noise filter. This filters the noise from the ignition coil not to interfere with the radio. Now, the one on the gearbox filters the noise from the I think it is not I think it filters the noise from the solenoid, so it won't interfere with the radio. Now, there's something, once this capacitor burns, once it gets spoiled, once is no longer functional, there is no power on the transmission. There is no light. There you will not see light. This is park. This is park. As you can see my hand. This is park. You will not see light here. There is no light here. You will see lights. You cannot drive the car because the capacitor on the gearbox is what powers the transmission. There is a fuse. Once the capacitor gets burnt, the fuse blows immediately, and that fuse is what powers the transmission of this car. Thank you, and this is what I have for you today. Subscribe to my channel, hit on the notification icon for more videos. This is Michael. I am Mike. I am an automobile mechanic. I specialize on Range Rover, Land Rover, LR3, LR4. Hook up for more sophisticated and mind-blowing discoveries from Range Rover Sport. Thank you. And Range Rover LR3 autobiography, different kinds of Range Rover. Please, Range Rover is a very reliable car. When you give it all it wants, it will give you all it have.